Good afternoon. I'm Katrina Boone. I'm Director of a Field Education program that provides oversight and direction to students at the bachelor's and master's level in social work.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game for all social workers or those who want to be, or those who say, you know what, I am looking at the field education piece. I have somebody who she's up there, y'all. I'm not going to say names. I'm not going to name drop, not going to title drop because she's just about doing the work. And I'm going to start off and say she told me I should have did my second degree here in Florida because I could have got paid, which I'm not. I could have had other resources and other doors that have been open to me. And I told her why I couldn't. We talked about that already. But Miss Katrina Boone, how are you doing today?
I am well, and yourself?
Blessed by the best always. And I want to get right into it because you guys, we got 30 minutes to let you guys know how you can become better in social work. You can, why social work might be something you want to get into right now, especially with AI coming and jobs, flopping in other places. But can you let us know, because your journey, I believe, goes from 83 to 85 with your BSW to your MSW. You've seen a lot. You're not done yet. Why should somebody be thinking social work now? And especially men, if you can talk about that. And if you can talk about Black men or Hispanic men, because they're the minority in this that I've been able to find. Give us the game.
Okay, we'll do it. I see that you've done your homework because you can actually identify 83 and 85. Very good. So, why social work? I think social work really speaks to where we need to go in terms of meeting the needs of the greater population. Social work has been around for hundreds of years at this point, but where we're living now and the times that we're living in with so much transition, so many different challenges that not only teenagers and adults are experiencing, but children and elders are experiencing. We have multiple issues that are rising. We all see the challenges that we have with school shootings, with constant issues around crime that's related to people and people getting injured and hurt. There are seniors who are in situations that are limited in terms of food insecurities that also impacts their social and emotional well-being. So social work is a field that I would encourage people to get into. And so often people get into their undergraduate years and they end up doing another major, but their goal is to help people. But if you truly want to help people in a very broad sense, it would be social work. Not because I have that degree in social work and I've worked in the social work field and now have the abilities to educate in the part of social work. It's because we're a very broad field and we can actually work with people from totally 5 or 6 different lenses, if you would. We can do therapy. We can do case management. We work in clinical settings. There's also a very big piece working in the macro setting. I have a colleague who is a major supporter of macro social work. She's a phenomenal social worker and educator. And macro practice spans to policy development, learning leadership skills. We're learning how to write policy, analyze policy, do that underground work that actually talks about outreach. That's another piece of social work. I have a colleague who's worked at the Supreme Court level. I've had a colleague who's worked at state organizations and agencies that's built programs that actually addresses family systems, looking at wellness, working with child maternal health. It's a gamut of what we can do in social work. So that's why social work. What drew me into social work initially was my grandfather, who was an amputee as a teenager. And I saw the different entities that was coming into the hospital setting and to my grandparents' home that assisted him to adjust to being an amputee. And social workers was one of those. Nursing was another, physical therapy was another, but social work bubbled up to the top for me. So I left high school knowing that I wanted to do a helping profession. And I ended up in social work because of what I was able to learn from what was done in that fear. So when we talk about, as I move on, talk about also minorities in social work, particularly males. When we think about African American, Hispanic males, it is a field that has not really captured the interest of a large population of males, and we need males in this field. So I would really encourage males who are interested in making impacts, whether it's in criminal justice, because that's another area where we lie. Forensic social work is another area that's really, really important to the work that can be done with individuals. So we need strong male therapists who's committed to the work and who's committed to really looking at how you can actually engage. And it is an area that we're always trying to encourage more males in.
And I love how you broke that down. And I'm all over the place. You can tell I'm a student and I'm full of just energy and what could be, because I want to do the individuals with the micro. Maybe if I can say in the mornings and by noon, I can go over to the meso and or the macro, because I'm already doing some of that work with the community organizations we work for. When we go as the Black Chambers in the state of Florida and we go to Tallahassee, I missed this year because of some travels, but it's like, where can I get in? And then you find out there's even, I got a CFSW, the Certified Financial Social Work, before I started. So I call myself an advisor, but then I'm looking at the sports social work, because in this state, I'm also a sports agent and have had a couple clients, right? But it's like, there's so much. There's pet social work. I said, if I do that, I'll be the only brother in there. I will be the
Animal therapy. That's right.
Yeah, I'll be the only one, I bet, in there. And so I separate myself. And then my therapist tells me, I have someone who's doing yoga, the type of, so I said, you can bill? He said, you can sometimes bill for basketball. I said, what?
Really?
I said, whoa.
Interesting. That I didn't know. Okay.
It's not always approved, and it's, how you write it up, but I'm just learning, and I'm like, this is for everybody. And like I told you, I've known people coming out of prison who have their MSW, have their LCSW in various states. And I'm like, oh, this really is for everyone if you want to do the work. With that, when people are doing like their placements, and they're thinking about where I want to get in, of course, everybody would work for the biggest place or the VA, right? What makes the difference between somebody who is going to be successful versus somebody who just does it and gets their hours done?
Okay, that's a good question. So you're asking what's going to make a student successful in their internship, if they're committed, or whether it's going to be a hindrance if they're in it just for the hours.
Some people just show up for the hours.
Okay. Well, let's go with the latter. Those who show up for the hours because they're having to get them in order to gain the degree. If that's the person, more likely what I have found over the years is that they still come out of that internship with skills and a better understanding of how to connect with the individuals that the client base serves, that the agency serves their client base, rather. Will they be a little bit shortened in terms of what they can walk away with? I think they start off like that, but I think at the end, they actually see that, wow, even though I was in here just to get through so I can get the degree, I've walked away with the understanding about the need for biopsychosocial assessments, how they integrate into the case plan or the treatment plan, how I can utilize the skills that I've developed in terms of integration of models and theories, techniques. So I really think, though they may start off with, I'm just in here to just get through, they end up still walking away with a wealth of knowledge. Now that person who goes in zero, I can't even say zero, that zeroed in rather and focused, laser focused on walking away with a great skill set, of course, they're walking in like that. So they're open. They're an open book. They're ready to work. They're ready to gain. They're inquisitive, and they're making whatever needs to happen for them. But I think at both levels that the student will walk away learning.
And what about that student like me who wants to do everything the first day? And you guys talked about it, the NSAW for Florida and Orlando. You know, students are trying to doing billing, and I've been telling my supervisor, let me stay away from any billing because I heard them talk about students trying to do billing, and that's not going to fly anywhere. But what about the people like me who may already be working in the field or have some experience? I did it for 8 years, you know, working from the facilities I had told you about, you know, while in undergrad and grad school and beyond. You know, what about me? Do we burn out quicker, or do we just all go into entrepreneurship? How do we go?
I don't think you burn out quicker, but I do think what happens is going into the field like you, just, you know, excited, passionate, you're wanting to go in 5 different directions, and it's really not going to really be sustainable. A good supervisor is going to say to you, okay, Kellen, I hear you. I see you, understand that. But what I would suggest is that you focus on 1 or 2 areas that you're most interested in so that we can build from there. Almost like you would do as a client. Tell me your 4 top goals of this internship. And let's look at how we can then meet those goals on a trajectory. If we get to 4 and we still have time left in the semester, we can look at goals 5 and 6 if there was such.
Wow. You know why that's so hard? Because in working all those years, when I found out where the money was in the government contracting, in running the program, or, you know, being part of that, you say, how many more people can I hire to expand my business? But even I remember one time I had to get volunteers, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna keep 1 spot open for me because I still want to work with the youth coming out of the detention center. And I did it, and I had a great time because I was able to mix both. And they're like, you're going to be one? You're going to come every week? I said, I'm getting paid a great amount of money. And I mean great, because government contracting, to come in 2 days a week. And I don't, why not? Why not come in? So I'm taking what you said and say, focus on one. And what is the real purpose? Is it to make money, or is it to impact that person directly?
Absolutely. Right. And all of us want to make money, but we're working in a field that impacts people. So what do we want to leave people with? What do we want to help them to gain? What insight do we want them to do? How do we help them peel back all of those years of stress, of trauma? What do we want them to walk away with? Okay. You also mentioned students doing billing. Yeah, students should not bill. There are some states, licensure wise and insurance wise, their regs clearly say you cannot have a student billing services because they are not degreed individuals. They are not degreed individuals at the master's level, and that's who can become licensed. So I think that's really important, that students should not be put in a position of billing because they're not professionals.
Well, you know, I know very few people probably get into social work for the money because there's a lot of ways of making money. But there is some money to be made. I bought the book that lists all the social workers' jobs, and some people are making $250,000 and more, depending on what they pick, you know. But you definitely have a heart for the people, and I want to know, before you say it and we run out of time, what is like a community give back that you're doing that, you know, you can mention? And if there's a way that we can help as a community, because, you know, with unity, we all win. But I like to ask every guest what their community give back is that they're doing or that they'd like to do in the future.
Okay, so let's circle back to one other thing that you talked about first in terms of students and the lens that they come from. I think it's important that with students that they have and understand that they need to have a foundation even after graduate school. Okay. I oftentimes provide suggestions and recommendations to students that you work at least 5 years in a community organization, private, nonprofit, for profit, actually facility, gaining some really great skills before you start looking at private practice. Private practice is an individual solo type workplace. And if you are going to do that, you need to really make sure that you have colleagues around you as support. But I just think it's really important to gain that hardcore experience working in the field and connecting with the clients. Building those skill sets is just really important. We've provided you with the underpinnings of it, but it's so important that you continue your work from your internship into practice, utilizing those skills and making them come to life and seeing successes sometimes. Because I'm going to be honest with you, you're not going to always see those successes right away. You may have to refer a client out in order to get the services that's going to be even more so successful for them. And that's okay. The realization of it is that you're self-aware enough to know that I've done the parts that I can do. Now I need to allow this client to move on to another therapist that can help in these outside areas. Okay. So the other question you I think you posed to me related to what have I done in the community that's made an impact? It would be some of the work that I've done with on boards that I've served on. I'm serving on a board that currently works with the maternal child health population, and being a part of that board and looking at how I could make inroads to the services that they're offering. That CEO is oftentimes giving us updates, but also asking for insight into, what does a framework look like for working with different client populations. Provide just, conversation, if nothing more, consulting, if you would, on how to actually make those inroads. I'm also involved with another community organization that actually works with the community at large and looking at how to streamline referrals for clients, for individuals, community persons that's perhaps looking for services for an aging parent that has been recently diagnosed, or not even recently, but has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. What services are available. So we do some work in regards to having individuals from around the community call us, email us. I'm looking for this service, or I'm having these issues, not sure what to do. So that allows me to continue to utilize my social work skills to help them to do, to look at and how we can send information out to individuals and or provide educational forums, in which we've recently done over the weekend. Had a urologist come in and talk with just not individuals, just not men, but prostate cancer, and what it looks like to do pre-screening, what it looks like to be preventative, what happens once you've gotten that diagnosis. And he was quite a phenomenal speaker. The urologist was just amazing. So I think it was well attended for a Saturday morning. It was probably about 45 people there. And mostly the Q&A was asked by men who were in attendance. Some of the women asked questions, but many of the men really engaged, asked questions of the doctor, even gave some personal examples about their symptoms, which I was really glad to see, because it was probably men who were 50 plus years old and but comfortable with looking at their health or what could happen. So that's another way that I think that I've been able to engage that piece. And then I'm also working with a group of individuals in the community that's working with people who are unsheltered. We are looking at ways to educate the community about persons living unsheltered, how we can assist the different process that are out. We're also looking at coming up with a way to inform people of the different services that are out there, trying to have a unified linkage to all of these services for individuals who are living homeless so that they can go to one place and be then filtered out to the different entities that they're needing in order to maintain or at least to become housed. But also looking at once they're housed, what's next? You know, if they're needing employment, how can employment, be what directions can we send in that way? So those are the kinds of things that I'm doing in the community that I think links back to who I am as a social worker and a social work educator.
Whenever somebody mentions prostate cancer, I tell people, men, go get your prostate checked, go get the colonoscopy. Colonoscopy is easy. They put you to sleep.
Yes.
I'll save my details for prostate because I want this to be seen and I don't want people to take it and lose track of what we're talking about. But I have some stuff to help y'all guide you through the prostate as well. But I will say that, neither one is comfortable that you want to do, but you have to do. And actually my biological father had it and he said, I got 80 something plus years. I don't want to do anymore. He was like, I don't want to do. And I've heard other men say that. I've heard other men try to eat the fruits and the vegetables and they don't want to, and they're like, I don't want to do the radiation.
Right.
And they're willing to live. And some of them die on that hill. It's hard, and that's something you can't chat GPT, but
No.
but because I am chat GPTing, every day, and all of us are asking chat, different things. Have you seen a difference or a similarity of people being addicted to drugs as they are to AI and almost, not even wanting to respond to other people until they ask AI or not believing people until AI approves it? What have you seen in the field so far?
So far, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen where AI is such a part of their life that it's overtaken it. That I have
Mm.
not seen at all. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I might call you in if I can get a special session, but I have a few people that, I've been told. And so, but I'm glad that you
Huh.
haven't seen it. So it might just
I've
be the
not.
circle. It might be the circle that I'm in
Yeah.
because we're building, apps and different things and using AI. And because of our radiology company, we have AI contracts. And so it's just,
Uh,
maybe it's that. Eh,
Maybe because no, I have not seen it. I've not had that experience. Now, is it being utilized? Absolutely. But I have not had that experience where it's become almost addictive or addictive.
how do you feel about it entering? I know the NSAW is pro AI. Some universities are not. How do you
Right.
feel about it, and where is it going?
Well, I think that for me, one of the things that I've come to conclusion of is that it's here. Let's learn how to use it effectively and ethically if we're going to use it. I think that we're not going to be able to get away from it. So why run from it?
Okay.
Is it being utilized within the university settings? Yes, it is. It's being utilized. To what degree? I'm not sure. I think that it's important that as a social worker and a field educator that we need to make sure that it's being used properly if it's going to be used. So guidelines, put those guidelines in place. Utilize whatever structures that's there for you to follow in order to assist with the process.
Okay.
But it
And you
should not
guys,
be you, but it should, I don't feel, then this is my opinion. I don't feel
mhm.
like it should be utilized as a way to gain access to every and anything that you do.
It's artificial intelligence for a reason.
Right.
So,
And it should be used as an aid, not as the actual product.
yeah, the late
Is
great
my
Miles
under
Monroe taught us read a book a week. And when your wife starts reading too, you better catch up. And that's something that if you do that enough, reading a book a week, whether you're reading it or audio, your life and the things you're exposed to will definitely be different. And
Mhm.
that's why I have conversations like that because wisdom again at an all-time low, and people are always just saying things even if they're not true, even if they're not peer reviewed. If they heard it on a napkin, they say, oh yeah, that must be true. If it's on TikTok with 100,000 views, that must be true. Like people saying AI is going to take over social work and take over therapy, and I'm like, you'd be a fool to let AI be your
Thank
therapist
you.
or
Yeah,
doctor.
yeah, that's not a good thing. Yeah, to be a therapist or a doctor, right? There has to be some guardrails to this. Absolutely.
Uh, and I know we're running out of time. I want to give you enough time. I don't want to rush you, but I want to know, what is the maybe one thing you can think about that social work sometimes gets wrong, but it's rarely discussed? And I'm asking that because many therapists, when I say, are you going to go to the NSAW? No, I don't agree with them. Are you going to go to the CSWE event? No, I don't agree with them. But they have, a decade in, so they're like, and they sometimes tell me, sometimes they just say there's just some things I don't like, and they don't want to maybe jade me from going to check it out myself. But what are
Hmm.
some things that you see maybe the career field get wrong and it's rarely discussed?
Hmm. Now, that's a very interesting question because just thinking about that, something that we've gotten wrong, but it's rarely discussed. I don't know. To be honest, I can't even answer that off of the fly. I
Okay.
don't, I can't really think through something that we've gotten wrong, but not willing to share or discuss, because so often, particularly when it comes to research, our research in the data actually shows the positives and the negatives and whatever falls in between that. So yeah, I don't know. I can't really say at this point if it's something that we've gotten wrong that's not been discussed.
Well, I got 5 more minutes, so I got another question. I don't stop. I don't run out of game. That's why this is a diversified game. I'd like to know if you have a good remedy. I think I talked to you off camera about why I like people going to Africa or even
Hmm.
Mexico, because Social Security
Hmm.
is not going to be enough indignity for a lot of people, if it's even
Hmm.
there for some. How can we help change our people's mind on investing? I'm very big on mutual funds, and whatever Dave Ramsey and Warren Buffett say, I'm like, follow that. I'm not creating anything new. Paul
Yeah, why
Miramon, small
reinvent the
cap.
wheel? Hmm.
Yeah. Paul
Yeah.
Miramon, small cap value, two funds for life. How can we help our people? Because it's not a white or even a black thing. People think I'm always talking to black folk when I'm saying this. This is an American thing where we're like only saving 2.7%, while China's doing almost 30 or 35%. How can we get our people to understand, if you do not save and invest now, you will not have the retirement or even the older years if you never plan on retiring? That's fine.
Hmm.
That it's not going to be what you think it's going to be.
Yeah. I think education, 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 as much as, and making it very simplistic and real. Doing some graphs or just some basic slides that talks about, here's your salary. Let's look at what's being paid out. What can be saved from that? And then how should you actually invest it thereafter? I think one of the most important things that my dad told me early on in life, when I first got into college and thereafter, was to always pay myself every pay period. I have done that religiously and have increased what I've put in every pay period over the years, and then do some investment. But I think having more education to talk about why it's important and how we can get there, and being able to not just reach that person that maybe we can say that's middle income, but that person that's lower income. The reality with some is that it's hard to chip away even $50 a pay period if you already have a limited income and your mortgage or your rent is so expensive. If it's a family with children, that's another expense. It's their clothing, it's their school supplies. How do we help people to recognize you may only be able to start with a small amount? How can we help them to manage their budget? How can we help them create a budget, perhaps? and create it without sounding judgmental. You know, not questioning the people who may have an iPhone and it's expensive. Why not just get a regular Android? That's a lot of money. Why would you want to spend that kind of money? Well, you can't get through to people when you're insulting them. Show them the dollar and cents. Show them the savings between an Android and an iPhone. Show them a savings between the top tennis shoe for their child versus a Nike that you can get that's not as expensive. What is the difference? I think showing people makes a difference versus the continual talking. If we're going to educate, we need to educate with simplicity and not with the judgmental tone.
Well, you guys know that last part, she was like going to church. She was preaching to me. It was almost like she was on the last 3 calls that I was on. Because we know it sometimes in certain communities, we say it in a way where it has to hit, like Pastor whooped me up with some scriptures before, but make you not want to come back, but you got to come back. But that's the way that I get to learn. Not everybody learns that way. So that last part, it might be for you too. I appreciate you, Ms. Boone, for coming, giving the game. You are welcome anytime. You know, I'll bother you another day. I've already hit you up on LinkedIn. I know you're not as active on there, but I told you I'd get you out by 1. It's almost
But that's
there.
okay, because I could add one more thing. You know, when we talk about, one of the things when I talk about not being judgmental, we have to practice what we preach. And you're right. Sometimes our pastors have to hit it where it really has an impact. And it's like, oh my God, he was preaching to me today, you know. But when we talk with people, when we're talking with clients, when we're working with clients, educating the community, it's all about, it's not what we say, it's how we say it. We can still hit hard, but we can hit hard with some diplomacy and some empathy. We cannot continue to address people with this sense of a really strong judgmental kind of a tone. We have to watch our tone. We have to watch the words that we use. I'm a big believer in it's not what we say. Again, it is how we say it, and we can still hit home with it. We have to be able to utilize the skills that we teach about in order to make an effective movement towards change.
You guys got the game. Links will be in the description on however she will allow me to put contact information. You guys got the game, and you can like it, you can comment, but most importantly, I need you to share it with somebody. It can and will change their life. Y'all be blessed.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai, then download the Millionaire X app, your AI-powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
Hello, everyone. Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature, and traditions from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music, and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores here in Grams Park. Don't miss this adventure.